Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Lorraine McGlynn. I'm a clinical psychologist and a holotropic breathwork facilitator. I'm making this video today to invite you to our upcoming special topics holotropic breathwork workshop entitled Healing the Hungry Ghost of Addictions. The workshop will be held January 8th to the 11th at Kirkridge Retreat Center in the Pocono Mountains. This is a double breathwork, so there'll be 4 holotropic breathwork sessions, 2 as a breather, 2 as a sitter. We're also going to be having a special guest teacher, Michael Morton, who is a therapist and a trauma and addiction specialist from Philadelphia, who will be coming to do a guest lecture on this topic. We'll really be talking about addictions from a holotropic perspective, which really looks at the role of attachment, attunement, trauma, the desire for transcendence, transpersonal influences that could contribute to addictive behaviors. So it's a unique approach to working with this material. The workshop, again, is going to not only have the double breath works, but we're also going to be doing other integrative practices during the workshop. We'll be doing mask making. If the weather in the Poconos in January allows us, we're going to be doing an outdoor fire ritual and healing ceremony. And we'll be doing our sharing circles and other integrative practices that we weave into the workshop. So it's a Thursday through Sunday workshop. We are going to limit the amount of participants because of the topic. I think it's really important to create a safe and supportive atmosphere for people who are coming to the workshop. It really is a workshop for anyone who has a history of addictions or whose life has been touched by addictions, or just anyone who might be curious about experiencing holotropic breathwork sessions. It's a very multi-layered topic to talk about addictions. We aren't going to be talking about the 12-step program, although that's valuable. This approach is looking at it from a different perspective. I'll be talking myself on the first night. I'll be giving an introductory talk on the theory and practice of holotropic breathwork. And because this is a workshop on addictions, I'm also going to be talking about how holotropic breathwork can facilitate trauma healing. I think a lot of people that have challenges with addictive behaviors also have some history of trauma in their lifetime. Stan Grof also explores in his research the role of the perinatal in the contribution of any kind of psychological issues later in life. So we'll be looking a little bit about the birth process and how that can contribute to the development of any kind of psychological issues. I'm trying to think what to say about trauma and addictions because it's such a complicated topic. I think, with holotropic breath work, it can be counterintuitive for people because one of the premises of this work is that we encourage people to amplify what they're experiencing on the mat. And speaking from my own life experience and my own family history with addictions and trauma and pain, it's really, I think, our natural tendency to try to avoid feeling pain, distract ourselves from feeling pain, do whatever we can so that we don't have to feel pain. And this really isn't about encouraging people to experience pain. It's about encouraging people to go into an experience. So, for example, if you're breathing on the mat and something's coming up for you that perhaps is difficult, you always can call one of the facilitators over and get support. And that's kind of the difference in this work is, I think when we are younger or at different times in our life when we experience trauma, we don't always have the capacity, the resources, or the support available to us to be able to cope with what's happening to us. And there can be a sense of helplessness and hopelessness and defenselessness in being in those situations. But in holotropic breathwork, you have an opportunity to kind of repattern or reprogram those experiences in the psyche by being able to empower yourself to either, you can fight back. We have pillows, you can punch, you can move around on the mat, you can discharge energy from your physical body that might be being held from the trauma. You can ask someone to come and sit and hold your hand, you can yell, you can cry. There are ways that you can work with what's emerging on the mat and express it and discharge it in ways that are not going to be damaging to you or harmful to you. What I've learned in doing this work over the past 15 years is I really have never seen anyone have an experience on the mat that came up that was creating material that they could not handle and process. It's really all about, the facilitators creating that safe and supportive space for people, giving people permission to experience what they need to on the mat to heal, and being able to support people in their process. So I think that's all I'm going to say about trauma. Addictions, like I said, there's so many different kinds of addictions, and especially with all of the stress that's going on in the world right now and all the uncertainty, I think it's not uncommon for people to turn to, substances, food, gambling, relationships, love, intimacy, whatever, as a distraction, because it takes away temporarily. In a way, it transcends you from what you're experiencing. Even though it's an artificial transcendence, it does transcend you from experiencing the pain or the difficulty or the discomfort that you're having in that particular moment. But with the holotropic breathwork, it transcends you into a healing space. So you're having the same transcendent, transpersonal experience, but you're having it in a therapeutic and healing way. So it's quite a different experience. And you are in an expanded state of consciousness. So for a lot of people, they do often report that those expanded states of consciousness can feel a little bit like, being kind of under the influence, for lack of a better word, of something bigger than themselves. But in this case, what you're under the influence of is your own inner healing wisdom that's guiding your particular set of experiences on the mat. And when those experiences are coming from a deeper, knowing, healing part of yourself, it's a very different experience than when those experiences that you're having from ingesting a substance of some kind or engaging in a behavior of some kind that's addictive. The outcome of that can be very destructive and very different than the outcome that happens when you're in an environment and doing a practice that's really coming from your own inner healing or innate healing capacity, and trusting that process or that part of you is bringing you to a place that's going to be a healing, protective, safe space. So again, the workshop is going to be January 8th to the 11th at Kirkwood Retreat Center in the Poconos. If you are interested in attending, or if you have any questions about holotropic breathwork, certainly feel free to send me an email at drmcglynn6@gmail.com. So that's drmcglynn6@gmail.com. And I hope you can join us. And if you can't, I really hope that you take good care.